For advanced scheduling, we're going to spend a day in the life of a scheduler, and we're going to generate 3 separate schedules of different what-if scenarios, looking to optimize our resource utilization, minimize our late orders, and forecast deliveries to our customers. This is Opcenter APS. In the sequencer screen, you can see that I have a Gantt chart which has a horizontal timeline across the top. Just below are supply diamonds, which signal when material is becoming available for use from our suppliers. On the left-hand vertical axis, we have our resources, which are operating on a 3-shift pattern. Salmon is the night shift, green is the early shift, and purple is the late shift, and we have an off-shift period on Sunday. Below the Gantt chart, I have my secondary constraints, which typically represent anything that limits a resource's ability to sequence operation, and in this example, I have labor and tooling as my constraints. On the left-hand side next to the Gantt chart are our unscheduled operations, which there are 1,064. Each item is represented with an order number and an operation number. For the first schedule, I am going to activate animate sequencing so you can see how the operations are allocated to the Gantt chart when we generate our first schedule forwards by due date. The sequencer will then group and order each operation by their due date and allocate it to the Gantt chart where there is an availability in the resource's shift pattern and the secondary constraint count that is associated to the operation. Now the scheduling has been complete, I'm going to turn off animate sequencing and then begin to investigate the schedule where I will highlight an order to see its end-to-end process. From when the material became available, all the way through our manufacturing facility to its finish. By looking in the order details, I can see that it finished 2 days before its due date. We can then also view the Material Explorer, where we'll be able to see all of its material requirements, where they have come from, and when they became available. Next, looking at the secondary constraints and where they're being used, I can click and drag on a secondary constraint and it will highlight each order where that's being used at that particular time. Looking at the unscheduled operations that were not allocated onto the Gantt chart, we can investigate these to understand why that is. And for this example, we can see that we have shortages in the Material Explorer, which can then be raised to our procurement team to escalate to the supplier. So we have seen how we can investigate the details of a schedule. Let's see how we can review the overall performance. Looking at the statistics, nearly 7% of our resource allocation is being spent performing setups. In the data, this equals to 20 days worth of time. Our on-time delivery performance shows that we only have 2 late orders, but I really want to try and optimize the schedule further by reducing that setup time, but by still keeping our late orders to a minimum. To generate our second schedule, first we need to unschedule the Gantt chart, and then sequence the work using an out-of-the-box APS rule called Minimize Overall Setup. Here we're going to be asked for a look-ahead window, which is a forward planning time period the system will use to group the operation due dates together and sequence the workload to reduce the setup operations. The bigger the window, the more effective it will be in reducing our setup time. In the second schedule we just generated, as we look closer, we can identify that operations are being grouped together more efficiently with far less setup operations, which are represented as these black bars. Looking at the statistics, our setup has been reduced to 2%, which is less than 8 days spent on setup time. However, this has had a negative impact on our on-time delivery as we now have 21 late orders. Knowing this, we can generate a third schedule where we will aim to reduce that look-ahead window period and attempt to still maintain a low setup time, but improve our on-time delivery to its previous levels. For the third schedule, this shows that we have maintained a low level of setup, set at 3%. which is less than 10 days, and a 50% reduction from our original schedule. Our on-time delivery is still good with only 3 late orders, so now I feel like our sequence of work has been optimized. What I would like to do is investigate the late orders, highlight them to identify which resources are causing the bottlenecks, and then begin to understand if offering overtime on a Sunday morning will help us deliver this order on time and reduce our late orders back down to 2. As a scheduler, I was able to schedule our operations onto our resources and use our constraints. From the point the material came available, all the way through to where we were able to forecast deliveries to our customers, I ran through 3 separate scheduling scenarios, comparing the statistics, fine-tuning the sequence to improve our resource utilization while still delivering our products on time. This allowed me to optimize our resource selection, increase our efficiency, all in a matter of minutes in what used to take hours or days.